Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman. Today is today's briefing to the international media. Questions in the chat, please, and we'll get to each one after a very quick update from me. It's Wednesday, the 11th of September, day 341 of the October 7th war. On this September the 11th, Israel honors the courage of the United States in facing evil, proving that freedom's spirit is unbreakable. In turn, the October 7th attacks on Israel strengthen our resolve to fight terror, defend our homeland, and stand united for the values that free nations share. First, tragic news that overnight an Israeli Air Force Yanshuf helicopter on a mission to evacuate an injured soldier for medical treatment crashed while landing in Rafah in Gaza. The initial inquiry indicates that the crash was not caused by enemy fire and is still under investigation. 2 IDF soldiers were killed in the crash, with the devastating news shared with their families. 7 of our soldiers were injured and evacuated to hospital. An Israeli Air Force investigative committee is examining the circumstances of the crash. Chief Master Sergeant in the reserves Daniel Alush was aged 37 from Tel Aviv. He served in the Special Tactics Rescue Unit 669 and fell in the rescue in southern Gaza. And Chief Master Sergeant in the reserves Tom Ish Shalom was aged 38 and from Nes Harim. He too served in the Special Tactics Rescue Unit 669 and fell in the rescue in southern Gaza. There are clearly no words of mine that can assuage the pain of these families, of their parents. We embrace them and those dear families who have lost precious heroes, sons and daughters in this war for our existence. This war has exacted a heavy toll on all of us, but none more so than the families of our soldiers and especially our fallen soldiers. But as the Prime Minister has said, I promise you, with unity, determination, and faith in the justice of our cause, we will fight, and with God's help, we will win. May their memories be a blessing forever. Next, the IDF last night released detailed pictures and video of tunnels where our hostages were murdered. I'm showing you now these photos, which together with video are on the IDF's website and Telegram channel in English, with the entrance to the tunnel under a children's bedroom decorated with Disney characters. But in these terror tunnels, you see no basic sanitation, urine in bottles, pools of the blood of our hostages, these terrible narrow tunnels that you cannot even stand up in. These truly are appalling, appalling images. Carmel Gat, Eden Yerushalmi, Hirsch Goldberg Polin, Alex Lobanov, Almog Sarusi, and Uri Danino, held captive and murdered here in these tunnels. All the evidence has been taken for investigation to track down the terrorists that murdered our people. The government and the IDF are determined to chase down Hamas and their commanders wherever they may be. These photos evidence the evil of Hamas and the cruelty with which it treats our hostages. Now an update from COGAT and their work coordinating aid into Gaza. You know, as Israelis, we're often asked to define the word chutzpah. If I may ask you, please check out COGAT's Twitter feed today. You'll see UNRWA's head, Philip Lazzarini, bemoaning the damage to Gaza's schools. Mr. Lazzarini, where Gaza's schools have been Hamas weapons storage facilities, tunnel access points, where our hostages are kept and murdered, where these schools have been used as terror bases for over a decade, As Kogat makes clear, maybe, Mr. Nazzarini, if you hadn't turned a blind eye to Hamas's use of UNRWA schools, Gazan kids might now actually be in school. UNRWA is a front for Hamas, where it should have been a support to ordinary Gazans to make their lives better and to build a better future for them. On the polio vaccination campaign in Gaza, 81,452 children under the age of 10 were vaccinated in northern Gaza just yesterday. In total, and since the start of the vaccination campaign, 521,903 children were vaccinated for polio in central, southern and northern Gaza. In the last 24 hours, 176 trucks carrying humanitarian aid went into Gaza, with 143 via Kerem Shalom and 33 via Erez. 125 trucks were collected from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom, 110 by the private sector, and only 15 by UN aid agencies. Once again, private sector putting these UN aid agencies to shame. And still, 500 trucks worth of aid just awaits collection on the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom. 480 of them by the United Nations. Perhaps UNRWA should stop tweeting and do its job. 6 tankers of cooking gas went in. 187,000 doses of the polio vaccine by UNICEF were transferred, as well as the successful rotation of humanitarian personnel completed. As of today, Israel has facilitated over 50,000 trucks of aid and close to 1 million tons of aid into Gaza since the start of this war. Throughout this war, Israel has prevented the humanitarian crisis that Hamas wanted in Gaza. Hamas wants an outbreak of polio. Israel has prevented one. That's the end of our briefing today. I will now take your questions, which you should put in the chat together with your news outlet. Thank you. First question from Leo Soroka at the Washington Post. President Biden, writes Leo at the Washington Post, President Biden stated today that the shooting that led to the death of Aysenur Aigi is totally unacceptable, and added that the violence in the West Bank has been going on for too long. This follows Secretary Blinken's call yesterday for Israel to make fundamental changes to the operations in the West Bank after the killing of the American Turkish citizen, stating that no one should be shot and killed for attending a protest. Does the Prime Minister's office have any comment or response to these recent statements regarding IDF in activity in the West Bank? Thank you for that question, Leo. The IDF has already produced the preliminary results of investigation. The IDF greatly regrets what has happened here. Clearly, this has been a terrible mistake, and it is investigating the issue fully, the results of which will come out very, very shortly. Clearly, the IDF's rules of engagement are extremely clear in preventing any damage to any harm to civilians. We're after the terrorists and not the civilians. The IDF has made clear that it regrets what has happened to this lady, to this woman, and sent condolences to her family, and is currently investigating, and the results of that investigation will be produced very shortly. Thank you. Next question here is from David Clement from the News Forum. Canada's foreign minister has suspended 30 arms permits to prevent Canadian companies from exporting to Israel. Does the PMO have comment on that development? Thank you for that question, David. We haven't got any. I haven't seen any comment from our office on that development yet. As soon as something does come out, we will share that with you. Next question from Joel Pollack. At Breitbart News, President Biden says he's outraged by the death of the Turkish-American activist. What is his reaction to the outrage? And was she, in fact, a peace activist as claimed by media reports? Thank you for that question, Joel. I gave an answer to that to Leo Soroka of the Washington Post. It's essentially the same question, and we've given our answer. Next question here is from David Isaac at JNS. Hamas has made $500 million of humanitarian aid, according to Israeli reports. Is Israel planning to take over distribution of Gazan aid? Can you give us some data of the government's future plans here to prevent this from helping Hamas? Thank you for that question, David. In the Prime Minister's press conference last week, he dealt with this question quite comprehensively. He said that too much of this aid, which is meant for Gazans, has been commandeered, has been hijacked as well by Hamas. He spoke very, very clearly about that, and so I suggest you go to his comments, the Prime Minister's comments at the press conference in English, but in Hebrew as well, that he gave last week, the hour-long press conference, where he dealt with this particular question and gave some of the answers you are looking for. Next question from Joel Pollack. Biden said Israel accepted responsibility for the activist's death. Did Israel actually accept responsibility, or that it happened inadvertently during clashes with Palestinian rioters? Thank you very much for that question, Joel. I would advise you to take a look at the IDF Telegram feed, where the full IDF statement has been given there, and the regret has been shown for the death of this woman, and as well as the ongoing investigation. The preliminary results of this investigation have been shared with you, and the results are on the IDF Telegram feed, where you can find the precise wording you're looking for. Okay, that is the last question I see that we have today. The next briefing will be at the same time tomorrow, 3:30 Jerusalem time. So in the meantime, please do stay safe. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.